Hi everyone, this is Dr.Habiburrehman. Today we are going to discuss a new topic which is very important topic and which is very interesting topic. Today I am going to talk about leukemia. About leukemia, we should know specific terms. Before I enter into the topic leukemia, I must clear some terms related to the leukemia. For example, before going to start leukemia, we must know a medical student must know the related terms about leukemia, like what is the normal value of WBC, what is leukocytosis, what is leukopenia, and from where the WBC arises, what are the types of WBC. All these terms must be clear before going to the topic leukemia. So first of all, I should tell you what is the normal value of WBC. So the normal value of WBCs is from 4,000 to 11,000 microliter. Point number 2, you should know what is leukopenia. Leukopenia is the decreased number of WBC. How much decrease? When it decrease from 4,000, decreased in 4,000 microliter. It's called leukopenia. Another term you should know is what is blast cells. Blast cells are immature WBC. Immature WBC which jump into the circulation. Now, you should know that what are the proliferative diseases of WBC. I should tell you that every increased number of WBC is not a leukemia. There are certain conditions and certain pathologies in which WBC count is increased. So one must know the proliferative diseases of WBC. So the proliferative disease of WBC, there are two types of proliferative diseases of WBC. One is called reactive proliferation and another one is called neoplastic proliferation. Neoplastic proliferation. Reactive proliferation is further divided into two types: leukocytosis and leukemia reaction. Now you should know what is reactive proliferation, what is neoplastic proliferation. Reactive proliferation is the increase in number of WBC in response to infections, in response to inflammation, and certain types of stress. But neoplastic proliferation is a malignant disorder in which there is increased number of immature WBC. The reactive proliferation is divided into two, leukocytosis and leukocyte reaction. What is leukocytosis? Leukocytosis is mild to moderate increase in WBC. Mild to moderate increase in WBC. Like the normal value is 4,000 to 11,000. So the increase in WBC may be from 15,000 to 18,000. But what is leukemia reaction? In certain types of stress, there is highly increase in the number of WBC, which is called leukemia reactions. Like the WBC count here in leukemia reaction is very high. It may be from 30,000 to 50,000 microliter. Neoplastic proliferation is further divided into two types. One is called leukemia. One is called lymphoma. Today, our topic is leukemia. We will discuss this one, but why I am teaching these things? Because you must know about all these terms. For example, in all these conditions, there is increase in the number of WBC. So you should not confuse between these conditions. In leukemia reaction, there is increase in WBC. In leukemia, there is increase in the number of WBC. So you must know these terms in order to differentiate them from each other. Now the question is how to differentiate between leukemia and so the difference between leukemia and leukemia reaction. First one, in leukemia there is abnormal shape of WBC. But here in leukemia reaction, there is normal shape of WBC. One difference. Normal shape. Second difference, in leukemia, the WBC are immature. But in leukemia reaction, the WBC are mature. Third difference, in leukemia, there is decreased level of alkaline phosphatase enzyme. And here in leukemia reaction, the level of alkaline phosphatase enzyme is high, increased level of alkaline phosphatase enzyme. And this is very important. Someone may ask you that what is the role of alkaline phosphatase in leukemia. So you must know that in leukemia reaction there is increased level of alkaline phosphatase, while in leukemia the cells are immature and the cells cannot form alkaline phosphatase enzyme. So there is decreased level of alkaline phosphatase. Another difference, in leukemia, there will be more than 20% immature cells or blast cells. But in leukemia reaction, the blast cells or immature cells will be less than 20 or 2 to 3%. These are the difference between leukemia and leukemia reaction. Now we will talk about the WBC types, from where the WBC arise. What are the types of WBC? You must know these all the terms before going to start the topic leukemia. So first of all, let's suppose this is a bone. This bone contains bone marrow inside. In the bone marrow, there are special types of cells which are called hematopoietic stem cell. Hematopoietic stem cells. These cells further differentiate into two types of cells. One is called lymphoid stem cell and another one is called myeloid stem cell. This lymphoid stem cell further differentiate into three types of cells. B cells or B lymphocytes, T cells or T lymphocytes, and natural killer cells. This myeloid stem cell further differentiate into different types of cells. Like eosinophils, neutrophils, basophils, and monocytes. Bone marrow, bone contain bone marrow. In bone marrow, there are special types of cells which are called hematopoietic stem cells. This hematopoietic stem cell differentiate into two types of cells: lymphoid stem cell and myeloid stem cell. Lymphoid stem cell further differentiate into B cells, T cells, and natural killer cells. Myeloid stem cell differentiate into eosinophils, neutrophils, basophils, and monocytes. You must know all these things. Why I focus on these things? Because later on, when we will study the types of leukemia, lymphoblastic or lymphocytic leukemia and myeloid leukemia, we will be concerned with these cells. If the problem exists in the lymphoid stem cell, the leukemia will be called lymphoblastic or lymphocytic leukemia. If the problem exists in the myeloid stem cell, we will call it myeloid leukemia. So that's why I focus on these things. Now we will go to our own topic, which is leukemia. What is the proper definition of leukemia? Leukemia is a malignant disorder of hematopoietic tissue which is associated with increased number of primitive WBC, which is called blast cell. In the bracket you must mention blast cells. This is the proper definition of leukemia. Let's come to the basic concept of leukemia. For example, this is a stem cell. It will form lymphoid stem cell or myeloid stem cell, and this will further form three types of cells like B cells, T cells and natural killer cells. What is the concept of leukemia? What is basically leukemia? This is stem cell. This stem cell is immature and not well differentiated. This is immature. It will differentiate into the B cells, T cell and natural killer cell. What is the difference between these cells and these cells? This cell is immature and these cells are mature. This cell proliferate rapidly because this is not mature cell. This is immature cell. This cell will proliferate rapidly, and these cells are mature cells and well differentiated cells. These cells divide very slowly. So now this is immature. This is mature but less mature, not full mature. And these cells, these are adult, full mature adult. Now, what happened in leukemia? This immature cells, if I arrest it at this point and I don't let this cell to be further matured and become adult, if this cell is arrested at this point, so these cells will proliferate. These cells will increase in number. These cells will increase in number, but these cells will not become mature cells. Leukemia is whenever there is malignant transformation of this cell, so this stem cell, which is immature cell, they will proliferate in number, they will increase in number, they will survive, but they will not become fully mature. So there will be increased number of immature cells, which are called blast cells, and leading to the leukemia. Now we will come to the types of leukemia. There are two types of leukemia: acute leukemia and chronic leukemia. Acute is further divided into two types: acute lymphoblastic leukemia and another one is acute myeloid leukemia. Chronic is further divided into two types: chronic lymphocytic leukemia and another one is chronic myeloid leukemia. There are short terms which are used for the types of leukemia. You must know. This one is called ALL, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. This one is called AML, acute myeloid leukemia. This one is called CLL, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, and this one is called CML, chronic myeloid leukemia. These are the types of leukemia. Now we will go to the concept of acute and chronic leukemia. Now we will go to the concept of acute and chronic leukemia. Again, you will consider a stem cell which is immature, then less mature, then adult. B cells, T cells, natural killer cell. This cell is immature. This is mature but less mature. And this one is adults, full mature. These cells are adult. Now, what is leukemia? What is acute and chronic leukemia? For example, if this cell, I arrest this cell at this point and the cell is not allowed to become mature, the cell is not allowed to enter into this stage. So, and allowed to proliferate. So these cells will proliferate, will increase in number. These cells will increase in number, but these cells are not entering into the maturing stages. So what will happen? There will be increased number of immature WBC. Suppose if we arrest, what is acute? Acute leukemia. If arrest is at the early stage, it is called acute leukemia. If arrest is at the early stage, is called acute leukemia. And what is chronic leukemia? If arrest is at the late stage. For example, if I arrest the cell here, it will be called chronic leukemia. If the cell is arresting here, it's called acute leukemia. Now, what is the difference? If we arrest the cell, if the cell is arrested at the early stage, so the cell will be immature. These cells are immature, and immature cells proliferate rapidly. And if I arrest the cells at this stage, now the cells are mature than these cells, but less mature, not fully adult, but more mature than immature. So, difference number one, that arrest is the early stage in acute leukemia. In chronic leukemia, arrest is at the late stage. Now, one difference. Second difference, in acute leukemia, the cells are totally immature. In chronic leukemia, arrest is at a late stage, so these cells which are proliferating are mature but less mature. Still not fully adult. Another difference, acute leukemia, as the cells are undifferentiated, so these cells divide, proliferate rapidly. Here, the cells are mature but less mature, so divides proliferate slowly. Acute leukemia is aggressive, less aggressive. Chronic is less aggressive. Acute leukemia is dangerous because it develops very quickly, because the cells are dividing more quickly. This is less dangerous. This is all about the acute and chronic leukemia. Now we will go to the age and incidence. Age, incidence. There is a very easy way. Initially, a person is at the child age, childhood, then adult life, then older stage. So which type of leukemia is common at the child stage, which type of leukemia is common at the adult stage, and which is common at the old stage? So first of all, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia is common at the child stage, at children. More common, this type of leukemia is more common in children. Acute myeloid leukemia is more common in adults. And chronic, both lymphocytic and myeloid, chronic type is common at the older stage, old life. Now we will discuss the pathology of leukemia. About the pathology, very easy. There is only, you have to know 3 points. Is very important. Number one, the transformed malignant cells, they proliferate rapidly. The cells, the transformed malignant cells proliferate rapidly. They do survive. They don't die, they survive and don't go into the maturing stage. They don't become adult, not adult. The cells proliferate rapidly, do survive and not become mature. So as a result, what happens? There is increased number of immature cells or blast cells. So when the number of immature cells are increased, there will be suppression of normal cells of the blood, like RBC, platelets, etc. There will be suppression of normal cells, and as a result there will be clinical sign and symptom of leukemia, which we will discuss later. So pathology, very easy. The cells, the transformed malignant cells proliferate rapidly, do survive and don't become adult. So as a result, there is increased number of immature cells and it will cause the suppression of normal cells and leading to the sign and symptom of leukemia. You have to know the remaining things about leukemia, like risk factors, clinical sign and symptom, investigation and management. You can watch in the next video. Thank you so much for watching Easy to Learn Productions videos. To have easy access to our videos, please like our page in Facebook and subscribe our channel in the YouTube.